introduce our speaker today. It's Noah Kenner. He's a just graduated senior from Memorial High School. He is a former Frostwood student. At graduation, they had 17 valedictorians, and Noah was one of 7 Frostwood students that were valedictorians. And he also spoke briefly, but at the graduation ceremony last Saturday, so he's going to speak twice. He is headed to Rice University to study mechanical engineering. And welcome Noah Kenner.
Thank you, Mr. Adelson, and a big thank you to everyone here at Frostwood for inviting me to speak here today. It's crazy to think that exactly 7 years ago, I was sitting on this same stage waiting to graduate from Frostwood, just like all of you are now. And it's especially crazy to think that because it's not true, it's not the same stage. In fact, the entire school's been redone. But that's beside the point. Now, after just emerging from 4 rich years of high school, filled with all sorts of academic struggles and social realizations, my immediate instinct is to get up here and try to explain the meaning of life, or how to survive 5 consecutive advanced placement exams. But the wonderful thing is that none of that matters yet. You have so long before you have to worry about anything I just finished surviving. Instead, now is the time to slow down and just be a kid for a while, because everything else will fall into place in due time. But what does being a kid really mean? Well, I moved to Houston just before the 5th grade and started school here, so I may be no Frostwood expert, but that year meant a lot to me as I made new friends and prepared to move on into middle school. Probably the memory that comes to mind first when I think of 5th grade would have to be Witzel, the math puzzles that Mr. Adelson would give us, where you had to use numbers in a grid to make all the different numbers within a certain range. As insignificant as it may seem, that's when I first started to realize my love of math and problem solving that would end up shaping my entire career path. I mean, of course I didn't understand it at the time, but now I'm on track to become a mechanical engineer, and I'd like to think that I owe a tiny little part of that to Mr. Adelson. Now, there are certainly plenty of other 5th grade experiences that we're celebrating here today as well. Some of my favorite memories are getting dressed up for Colonial Day and feasting on cornbread, or at the chorus winter concert when Miss Downham surprised all of us during Let It Snow by sprinkling snow across everybody from the back. But I suppose one of my sharpest memories would have to be BizTown, in which I know you all just recently participated in. And boy, was that a day that meant a lot to me. Like, a lot. I looked down the list of jobs, decided I wanted to be town treasurer, and signed up for an interview slot. Because city hall positions required an interview. And you have to dress fancy. And I was like, oh yeah, look at me, all dressed up for my interview. My job interview. Anyway, I think there was only one other person who put town treasurer as their first choice, but I was the one who walked in there and was like, this is my calling. So sure enough, I got the position. Well, the big day came. They filed us into the big, glowing town complex. They sit me down at my little dinosaur of a computer and explain what exactly my job is. I have to input into the system the tickets that police officers give people, and then keep track of all the money collected from fines, and every so often run it down to the bank to deposit it. Seems easy enough. So the workday starts, and tickets just start pouring onto my desk. I'm in an absolute fury, typing numbers into the computer, with my only relief being when I occasionally have to fight through the mass of bodies piled up, waiting at the bank to deposit checks. Like seriously, I don't think any concert mosh pit could compare to how densely people were packed in that little model bank division. But anyway, after a couple of hours of the same feverish repetition, little 5th grade BizTown me was about ready to have a mid-biz life crisis. I just kept watching the tickets pile up on the desk, and I'm like, yeah! Well, finally we all gathered back out inside all of the little buildings, and they informed us that every business paid off its initial loan, except the city hall. Because we needed more of our only source of money. Tickets. Are you kidding me? After all of that work? Well, I decided what's done is done. And, but then on the bus ride home, everybody's like, hey, look at this cool toy I bought with my paycheck. Look at these goodies. And they're like, no, but what did you buy? And I'm like, I only had time to type numbers into a computer all day. But that was that. I went home, had some ice cream, couldn't care less. But that day I did learn a valuable lesson that would resonate throughout my middle school and high school career. There will be plenty of times where it seems like you can't possibly have that much more on your plate than the people around you, and yet everybody else seems to have free time to spare, and there you are stuck, working. And that's something it's hard to realize is perfectly okay. When there are suddenly 8 periods a day next year, and the majority of them are assigning nightly homework, it may feel like a constant stream of tickets piling up. And you ask yourself, how does anyone get through this? But you will. It's going to feel like a whole new level of work and responsibility, but it's completely achievable if you believe in yourself and push forward. So here's my honest advice when it comes to moving on into middle school. It's all about balance. Finding the balance between your social life and your schoolwork, between your old friends and making new ones, between working yourself into a frenzy and just taking time to relax. And I admit that's a lot to deal with. But the great thing about middle school is that it's more or less all about making good habits for high school. I filled out 6 college applications this past fall, and rest assured, not one of them asked for my middle school report card. Parents, this goes for you too. I know I've been facing you the whole time, so maybe that was implied, but regardless, middle school shouldn't be a time for stress for you or your child. Because at the end of the day, as long as they learn how to study effectively and interact better with other people, the day-to-day pitfalls and bad grades aren't going to be a big deal. So I'm not saying not to try your best. Try your best in order to prepare for your future, but don't be afraid to make mistakes. Middle school is the time to make mistakes, to try new things, and most of all, to just slow down and be a kid. So go out there and show the world that Frostwood Tigers make the most fearless, most adventurous, and sweetest kids out there. Thank you.